I'm going to hand over initially to Mobysoft and to Adrian and Chris.
I'm Adrian Mills, I'm the Marketing Director at Mobysoft, and I'll be speaking with my colleague Chris Colbert, who's Head of Business at Mobysoft. And we're going to really talk about the impact of COVID on social landlords and tenants and the performance. We're in a very sort of privileged position at Mobysoft. If I just move quickly on to the next slide, it might potentially explain why. We've got 160 customers. We process around about 1.7 million social tenancies every week. So we've got a huge amount of insight into what's happened over the last 6 months since March, what the effects have been across the whole of the UK. And at the moment, we process about 1 in 3 of every UC claimant in a social tenancy. So we've got quite a bit of insight that hopefully you'll find interesting today and get some value from. So just a little bit more about us, just in terms of what we've been up to. Obviously, since lockdown, the world has changed quite a bit for everyone. So we focus really primarily on working with and supporting our customers. So we've done lots of best practice, thought leadership events, and sort of trying to provide a collaborative platform for our customers to share and discuss best practice, etc. And in that time, we've had 13 landlords invest in Rent Sense. And we've also had 20 more existing customers invest in multi-year contracts for Rent Sense because they're seeing the value that it's delivering. And we've also, much of what we did before lockdown was delivered remotely, with the day of go live and of implementation at a landlord, where we'd be on site with a Mobysoft cake. Sadly, since lockdown, there's just been 1 cake delivered, but we have managed to do 8 go lives, and we've got a lot more coming over the next few months. And actually what we found is they've worked really well. The officers, the housing teams, etc., have really embraced it, and they've been really effective. So the likes of Denbighshire Council, Northwoods Home Group and Sandwell Council going live. And I thought just share potentially a few words from some of the team at Sandwell Council about the implementation and about Rent Sense. So these words are from Kelly Reeve, Donna White and Joanne Thompson at Sandwell. I think the last comment really highlights the point of having an accurate arrears caseload and how important the technology is that interprets that data correctly. So what I'd like to talk to you about now is the impact that we've seen of COVID on landlords and their performance. At Mobysoft, we've started using a data intelligence tool, and it's enabling us to share benchmarking information with customers. It also helps us identify trends from across the sector. So one of the benefits for customers is that all this data is measured in the same way. And we're working on breaking down sort of the data into different metrics. So at the moment, for example, you can get average arrear value, average UC arrear value. But we want to begin to present that in, for example, the number of weeks of their average weekly rent value. So it will allow landlords in different regions to begin to benchmark and compare performance. So the data I'm about to share is essentially examined from September 2019 through to August 2020. So there's 12 months worth of data, and it covers 1.2 million social tenancies. So it's covered those social tenancies we've been able to compare like for like over the last 12 months. And the 2 main talking points from the data are that what we've found is that actually if you look at arrears, if you look at the number of tenants in debt, and landlords have actually improved their performance. So this is obviously amongst the Rent Sense users. And the other point is that those tenants with pre-existing arrears have actually unfortunately fallen deeper into debt. Now I've discussed this with several landlords, and many sort of pointed out what they believe the reason for the latter is since obviously lockdown, evictions have been put on hold, courts have been closed for a long time, so there's a big backlog now. So as landlords, you haven't been able to take action or process customers. in arrears as you would do normally. So as a result, these individuals' arrears have increased. And one of the comment that a lot of landlords mentioned was what they've seen with their customers who have lost jobs is they've typically engaged quite quickly with the landlord, and they've typically got their account back on track quickly as well. And I'll just share some of the sort of data insight with you now. So the data that's led to these conclusions is that over that 12-month period, there's just over 8% of tenants, fewer tenancies in arrears. And gross arrears across the cohort have fallen by just over 10%. Now, at the same time, UC claimants have almost doubled, for which I'm sure many of you aren't surprised. And another indicator is that the rent sense arrears caseload, so essentially the arrears workload presented by rent sense to this cohort of customers, has come down by 5.3%. So with fewer people in arrears and overall arrears down, what's happened to the average arrear figure? Well, unfortunately, as I mentioned, that has actually increased. So it's increased by 4.7%. Indicating those that with pre-existing debt have fallen deeper into debt. And this is also evidenced in the arrears bandings that you find in rent sense. So, and we've also seen the number of early intervention cases in rent sense increase by 7.6%, even though the overall caseloads come down. So those with reducing credit, those sort of new tenants, etc. And just to give you an idea of arrears banding, so for example, low-level arrears, so arrears less than £250, have dropped by just over 19% in that 12-month period. However, higher-level arrears, again, for example, arrears over £5,000, have risen by just over 20%. So you're seeing, unfortunately, more people, those people in arrears falling deeper into debt. And that's what we think the data points towards. And for us, it showcases the importance of being able to accurately identify tenants in arrears and to identify those who may be about to fall into arrears. And as I mentioned earlier, it's up there, we've seen a rise in early intervention cases. So it's really important that landlords are able to intervene at those earlier stages and obviously before tenants fall into arrears. There is a word of warning. I know we've talked about performance improving. Well, there's two words of warning, really. It's universal credit. However, obviously, the Select Committee's recommendation for the starter payment may help here. But we've done some other analysis on universal credit. An analyst at Mobysoft has looked at 85 social landlords where we're tracking or tracked universal credit claimants for a long over 12 months. And they've gone back and they've looked from between March 2020 and July 2020. And across those 85 social landlords, there's 920,000 tenancies. Now, over that period of just over 3 months, 5% of those tenancies, or just over, around about 47,000, had transitioned across to universal credit in that time. And of those tenants that have transitioned across, less than 1 in 4 of them were on housing benefit before. So we believe the 36,000 plus that weren't on housing benefit wouldn't have been expected to move across to UC in pre-pandemic UC projections. So we still expect a large number of people to transition across. According to the House of Commons Library on the universal credit rollout, it's 55% of the way through for people claiming the housing cost element. So we still think there's a long way to go. However, also throughout COVID, what we've noted and when we spoke to customers, we're seeing quite a few customers improve performance. So, for example, Gloucester City Homes, they're based down in and around Gloucester. They've got 4,500 properties. And since they put rent sense in March 2019 through to March 2020, their arrears have fallen by over 21%. However, since March 2020, since lockdown, their arrears have fallen by a further £66,000. And there's only 1 month they say that arrears have actually gone up, and that month when the arrears did actually rise, they rose by £145. So obviously a nominal amount. I mentioned earlier in the presentation, we've been speaking to or providing a platform for our customers to share collaboratively. And this is a slide taken from Nick Beasley at Rotherham Metropolitan Borough Council. He spoke recently at a HQN and Mobysoft event. And he talked about that actually they've seen their performance improve this year. And this slide just shows that since April, every month since April, and when he presented this in September, they have achieved over 100% collection. And at the time of presenting, Nick also mentioned that their collection rate at this point is 1.3% greater than at the same point last year. And Nick's point was that with the right mindset, leadership and team, you can still be successful even in these uncertain times. And he also praised tenants that really grasped the opportunities available to pay the rent, cover historic debts and put themselves into credit. And at the time of presenting, he said September was forecasted to be 101% for the month as well. So, as you know, having just talked about two examples of high-performing customers, this sort of leads on to some research we had undertaken about the effects of rent sense on social landlords. And the analysis was undertaken by a data science company called QuantiSpark, and it covered 1.1 million tenancies across 93 customers. So it was pervasive across a large data set. And it examined specific data that looked at arrears, tenants in arrears, average arrear levels, evictions, and the impact of UC. There were lots of findings from the report, including how it was proven to reduce arrears, rent sense was proven to reduce arrears, reduce evictions for customers at a faster rate than non-rent sense users. But I just thought I'd quickly share this slide with you. And it just shows how it helps landlords reduce the number of tenants in debt. Here it's 11.5%. And it also helps reduce the arrears level per tenant just by over 8%. So for many, investing in software and systems can be perceived as a gamble. So this research helped evidence that the benefits of rent sense are pervasive across our customer base, no matter the size or type of organisation. So in turn, obviously helping landlords and boards invest in rent sense with confidence. And just before I hand over to Chris, would just like to mention we've got some income best practice sessions for frontline officers in November and December. If you are interested, it's all about tips and advice around negotiation and agreements. Then either contact myself or contact Chris, or if you go onto our website under events, you'll be able to book on there. And they're on the 24th of November and 17th of December. But I will now hand over to Chris, who will talk you through some more data insight. Chris?
That's great. Thanks for that, Adrian. So good afternoon, everyone. As Adrian mentioned, we're in quite a privileged position at Mobysoft. So we work with over 160 social landlords, and it covers around 1.7 million tenancies. What we've seen is with the COVID pandemic, it's presented a multitude of new challenges across the sector. And we're finding from conversations that we're having with our clients that it's becoming even more important for organisations to share best practice. So as part of the Rent Sense income maximisation service for our clients, we're now sharing benchmark data through QuickSight, which is a trend analysis tool. So for areas such as caseloads, patch sizes, arrears performance, UC rollout, and benchmarked averages, and understanding how your structure and your performance compares, particularly over the last 6 months. So this is something relatively new being provided by Mobysoft. If you're a client and it's something you're interested in accessing, please reach out to one of our income maximisation directors. I know both Liam Davies and Laurie Franks are both in attendance today. So please reach out to one of them after this meeting. If you move on to the next slide, Adrian. If you're not a Rent Sense customer, you might be aware of our new rent test offering. So this is a free of charge session and essentially enables you to benchmark your systems, your processes and your performance against sector averages. So we carry out these sessions fully remotely, and following this, you get a full bespoke report of the analysis. So yeah, it identifies and measures the effectiveness of your current system and arrears caseload and does all that benchmarking before providing it onto the report. As you can appreciate, because they're carried out remotely, and more organisations want to ensure their systems and processes are fit for purpose for the future, they're very popular. So we're actually now taking bookings for 2021. And the plan is, following the event today, you're going to be contacted by a Mobysoft head of business for your region. So the purpose for this is to reach out for an initial 15-minute WebEx session to share some of those regional data trends we've explained, explain more about the rent test process, which more and more organisations are finding incredibly valuable, and talk about organisations like Home Group, where Doug Bacon's provided us a quote here on screen. Home Group, Wrexham Council, London Borough of Lambeth, to name but a few, have achieved real value from understanding the accuracy and effectiveness of their systems and processes. So if you're not a client of ours, we'd love to talk with you. Like I said, somebody will be in contact to discuss a 15-minute WebEx. And thank you very much for listening to myself and Adrian today.
I'm delighted to welcome now James Massey, Strategy Director at MRI. James, are you around?
No, thank you for that, and yeah, thanks, and afternoon, everybody. So yeah, my name's James Massey. I'm the Strategy Director here at MRI Software, and we do about 15 minutes or so for a presentation around one of our views around income management and how we can bring some of our technology solutions to bear to help you guys along with that. I thought it useful to start off with a very brief history of MRI. Where they are a 50-year-old next year software provider who have been primarily focused in real estate software across the US and wider Europe and Australia. They purchased Real Asset Management a number of years ago now, and prior to that they bought Cube as well. And then more latterly then have bought into the business the Orchard product, Castleton, which is where I was the COO of that business before working this role now, and then more latterly then the Housing Partners businesses and joined the family as well. So we've sort of grouped all those solutions now all underneath one banner now as MRI Social Housing, of course, and the constituent products then beneath that. And it's clear to say that what MRI's focus is. It's obviously fully focused on the housing market across the UK, Republic of Ireland, Australia, and New Zealand. And again, the Republic of Ireland, Oz, and New Zealand are again a great customer bases. Again, great feedback there to bring back that holistic solution. We feel we have a good alignment to our corporate objectives, but also our kind of softer side objectives as well. And critically, we want to be a technology partner of choice, and I guess that's where that's of course where we want to get to. So, the reasons why we want to do that, just very briefly, some aligned values and aims and objectives across your organisations and our organisation. We feel we've got a good set of complementary solutions across the board. We have circa 850 social landlords now across the UK and Republic of Ireland, which again, of course, is obviously a good number to have. We talk, and I've talked a lot recently around this direct to sofa channel. So again, trying to drive our solutions out to help you guys with this direct to sofa service, and the world we live in now. People, of course, being at home more often and having been used to using those digital channels more. Again, of course, is a more frequent thing that's now get on the market and the sector. So, again, what can we do with some of those? And again, all the various things that go around with that. Of course, we are an emerging world. Of course, there's group acquisitions, there's group mergers, but again, everybody now is working differently. And again, it's how we can make our technology better to enhance all those things. So probably don't want to go into MRI much more than that in reality. A very short time frame obviously in this conversation, but again, more than happy to take any questions or field any questions after the conversation. So time into the kind of conversation on where we are now. These are some of the things that we sort of highlight. That we sort of feel, and obviously I think we all know as individuals that what people may be facing. I say your tenants, but actually it's what people are facing regardless of where they live. Of course, the school initiative that went to Parliament yesterday, that of course they didn't back. Again, that's one of those things there. Look at how people can afford them to feed their children. Of course, we're all well aware of all the things in the press around redundancies, around furlough coming to an end, lack of opportunity, employment opportunities, etc. And all the things in there, of course, that are being flagged up to everybody now. And I guess crucially there, of course, Christmas is around the corner. Doorstep lenders, all those types of things, sort of people there. And again, these are the types of times where people could potentially be targeted by those various points. So, some of the concerns that we get and we sort of hear back from our various organisations around the issues that the tenants may well be facing. It's critical, of course, to flag what sways people in terms of their propensity to pay their rent in this particular example. Physical health, mental health. The healthiness of their overall financials that they have inside their household. Pulling competition for money. Is that to look at the paying the rent, paying the gas and electricity, paying for Christmas presents. What is that kind of factoring, and where does that come from? And I guess what we want to try and get to is to help us, in the small part that we can as a technology provider, to leverage some of the technology that we have. And again, of course, our other colleagues, software providers as well in the sector, to help you guys drive forward, solutions that can help you to alleviate some of these issues. And again, I highlight in here some of the various challenges that may be familiar to people. Of course, it is sometimes difficult to identify those customers, those tenants, those residents that are, of course, at high risk of arrears. I'll come on to talking around an education point of when we take on tenants in a moment. But, again, I'll talk a number of times around one size fits all or one size doesn't fit all in terms of a tenancy. And actually, is there a way that we can help to give early indication of those tenants who could potentially fall into rent arrears? And then get on the front foot, become more proactive to support those vulnerable tenants. We all talk about the 80-20 rule or 90-10 rule, whatever we've talked about, over the years. But for me now, it's around, well, actually, how can we give you, that priority? How can we take some of that caseload away from people to give people more time back to do that? There's a lot of data across the systems, and as I say, we're the custodians of a huge amount of data in this sector, as are all the other providers. And, for us, it's around how we can bring that together into a single version of the truth. I think that's a long journey. I think it's an exciting and interesting journey, but I guess, it's a journey that needs to be embarked upon. I talked at a conference recently around data pollution. And again, the thinking there, of course, is, we have too much data, which just is not driving out value. And it's how we can streamline that data. It's how we can get best value from that data as we move forward, and then make it simple, make it easy, and make it a single version of the truth. And, I guess the other point there to note, of course, is the limited resources. I know obviously everybody's now generally working at home or working different patterns, etc. But again, it's how we can take some of that work away from people to give people more time back to be able to do what they need to do and help those people in most need, of course, going forwards. So if we kind of skip forward then to where ideally, we would like to help people to get to, it is revenue protection, income maximisation. I think that was a phrase that the chap from Mobysoft just used there. So I promise I didn't copy and paste that from your slide deck into mine. But it is a phrase, of course, that's very, very relevant. We talk around collecting with care. Of course, it's a crucial factor of any social landlord there to want to collect that rent and collect those arrears if that was the thing. But again, it's collecting that with care at the right time, in the right way, with the right sort of factors around that. So again, being as careful as possible with those, and again, be aware of what those households may be facing. And again, we'll come on to some technology in a moment, which should hopefully give you some views as to how you could potentially look at somebody's holistic arrears picture or holistic household position, as opposed to just the factors that you may know about. Of course, it's important to highlight those people at most risk. It's important to flag up where there are potential issues, where they're on welfare claims, or, maybe around not paying by direct debit, as it says slightly further down. And again, crucially, I think as John said at the beginning, around fuel poverty. We all know the time of year is coming, it's getting colder. It'll certainly, go on now for several months now, as we're all well aware of. And I guess there's several factors in with fuel poverty. Number one, of course, is, the person in the property, of course, are they then going to get ill if they get cold? And we all know that nobody wants to be doing those types of things in the situation that we're in now. But also critically, then how does that then affect your assets as well? So if your property's cold and damp and so on and so forth, then again, what could that do then to your property? So if we can help to identify those people who could be in fuel poverty, again, that's one of those things that we'd like to drive towards. And again, mitigating that risk around climbing arrears. If people get into arrears, it's a very, very, very tricky line to get off. And again, how can we help to give an early identification of those things, as people sort of transit through their journey of being a tenant? Direct debit uptake, of course, I still know associations. I've worked with many associations for many years who still do a fantastic job at direct debit collection. It's a great solution to use. But again, is there more of a push we can make towards that? Are there alternative payment channels we could potentially look at? So, we just recently acquired a payment solution inside the MRI group, which is currently US based, but we'll look to bring that to the UK. Again, can we give more channels? Can we give as many channels as possible to help those people take the payments? Make a payment at a time to suit themselves. Again, is direct debit one of those things? Identification of under and over occupancy. Again, I'll come on to a little case in a little moment about how some of the products inside the MRI suite have helped people identify under occupancy and critically, of course, over occupancy. And again, those things there help those people in more need, of course, those people who may need that bigger or would like a smaller property. And again, how can we help those people to do that? Of course, helping staff manage their time. We'd expect that any IT system could help to manage people's time and manage people's caseloads and workloads and how they can plan their work more effectively and so on and so forth. So again, think about some of those things we can do. And again, bringing all that data together, think about the data and think about what you've got and what you're custodians of that could help to bring any of these things to bear. There's vast amounts of data in all housing management systems, regardless of where they come from, if they're one of ours or not. There's huge amounts of data out there in the sector, huge amounts of very, very, very valuable data. And again, if that was harnessed, is there something more that we could do with that? So we just skip to the next screen. So this is a screenshot of a solution of ours of MRIs called the Insight module. It was actually born out of our friends and colleagues now as housing partners, and the whole idea behind this particular solution is to bring together disparate data sources from critically from your housing systems, repair systems, and CRM systems, and then overlay that with the millions and millions and millions of external data sources that we have across the MRI product portfolio set, and again using external agencies. For example, General Register Office, credit applications, Experian, electoral roll, all those various solutions that we can then bring together. And then what we then look to do then is to put people into different categories. And then we risk score those or color code those to identify those various levels of risks. And those risks, of course, are all definable, and the ones that are in front of me there, of course, are just an example. So, we can see, for example, those properties in there that may have low usage of direct debit, which will be the 344 halfway down. We may have properties that have got bankruptcy orders against them or county court judgments against them, or they could be in fuel poverty, and that's what I'll come on to in a moment. It's around segmenting those people out there. And again, if you could use some of that data there, how could that help to drive forward a change in terms of working practices? If we just skip on to, so again, think about some of those things. Think about some of those critical categories there that could help if we could bring those data things together for you there into this solution. This screen here, if we split into two panes, there's actually a faint line down the middle of the screen in there. So this pane here, left-hand side, is what we're being told about this individual from the housing system and from their rent payment system. So on the left-hand side, it says that they were not in arrears from October through to July. And then from July through to September, then they fell into arrears, as we'll see the downward line drops them below the baseline. We can see how much they are in arrears, when this was last updated, when they last paid, all those various types of things. We can see that their benefit types, we can see that they have a county court judgment of less than £500, but they've got no IVAs or admin orders, or they're not bankrupt. So the left-hand side is what we've fed from your housing management systems or the various housing management systems. And on the right-hand side, this is what we're actually able to tell about them as their true financial situation. So this example in here, we can see the tenant fell into arrears in August, but we would have been notified that because they've been slowly moving into a worse position from January onwards, actually. So as you can see there, we've got the orange line October to December, then the slightly worsening line then through January onwards, and then it gets worse then in July, then through to August. And we see at the bottom then, they're under financial stress. And again, at the top, then we get a very brief summary then about what that may mean about that individual. So it means that they've likely taken out a personal loan, or they've missed some payments, or whatever those things are. And again, we brought all those data things together. So again, from a data perspective, we're able to extract data from core systems and show that, and then data then from many other touch points across a whole raft of technology providers to bring that into this overall financial vulnerability position. So again, give you a better stance as to what that individual may be going to do outside of their property. And then, as John mentioned at the beginning, then I was going to talk briefly then around how we can identify things such as fuel poverty. So again, what we can do is, on the previous screen, I showed how we had 2 screens ago. I showed about the various segmentation groups of those people who are in high financial distress. Those people who maybe are of a pensionable age. So again, we can bring that record to as well from the various core systems. But then this particular example here, and of course this is just an example, we're bringing through here their EPC rating, so their energy performance certificate rating of their particular property. So if you're familiar with that, of course, an A is the best, and I think a G is the worst. I think it may go a bit lower than that. But what I'm trying to show in here is actually we can create a segment group here that shows right in the middle of that one there. So people who are in high levels of distress, have an F-rated EPC rating for their property, and are of pensionable age, brings out the 2 particular locations there in the very middle of it. And again, what we can do then is look then at early intervention with those people. Again, if that's of course what providers see as a good course of action. And so, using that data then to drive out some of those hard to reach people, some of those people that may have fallen into arrears or may have fallen into fuel poverty, potentially, had you not been able to identify that. And again, this is a solution that's a fairly well used solution now across the sector. There's a couple of brief examples in here. So I don't know if Holly's on this conversation or not, but Holly from Stonewater. That's I don't know why my gate's ringing. I'll just stop that. So Holly from Stonewater here has a brief case study on what they've done with the Safe Start solution. So the Safe Start solution is a partial one of the solutions of one of the ones I showed on one of the screens. The idea of Safe Start is that you look at someone's financial position as they're going to come into one of your properties. And again, it enables you to potentially drive out that non-one-size-fits-all housing service. So again, you may be able to say to somebody, of course, you probably wouldn't want to not rehouse that individual, of course, but you may want to say to them, actually, maybe we need to do a different approach here for yourselves. Maybe it needs to be a slightly different type of service that we offer to you. And again, the Safe Start solution would help you identify those people and would help you to give them a slightly different service, a slightly tailored or a slightly customized expectation of what you need from those people as tenants. Again, another great example here from Mike down at Watford Community. They use the income analytics solution. We're feeding income analytics every day with daily updates, and it's enabling them to do a lot more work, a lot more caseload automated. And again, you'll see the various highlight points in there. And again, it allows them to work through cases more quickly. So crucially for those guys at Watford, they're able now to automate a lot of low-level arrears, a lot of text messages sent out now automatically, or letters, and all those various things to again facilitate that more time then for people to be able to spend on those potentially hard-to-reach individuals. And again, that's what one of the solutions was that I showed before. And then just on to the last one before I just summarise, is again Tim Mills down at Metropolitan Thames Valley. They're using the Insight solution, which is the one I showed you, the segmented groups. And Tim quoted it saying over £1 million savings to the public purse. From MTVH. So in 2 years they've got that. They've managed to recover a number of properties. And again, able to reallocate those properties back out then to those tenants that are in more need of those properties than were housing there before. So again, some fantastic case overviews there, from 3 organisations where those solutions have really made a big difference. And again, what we want to see, of course, is of course more people using those and getting the value out of them. And then I guess just to briefly summarise, using the data intelligently to drive collection with care is absolutely critical, of course. And there's another conference I'm doing next month talking around the purposes of quality data and what we can drive out with quality data across solutions, and how we can make that help to facilitate, to drive forward easier access to people, how we can make the transition, if someone's in arrears, back to be not in arrears, or again, all those various things we can do, of course, there with good data. And again, as I've said several times in this conversation now, one size doesn't fit all. And again, can we help to identify and not to segment people in terms of social groups, but how we can segment them in terms of high priority, low priority, medium priority cases, and how actually the technology can help you to facilitate potentially more enhanced services to those people.
I'm going to move it on, and hopefully Vicky from PayPoint is with us at the moment.
So I want to just sort of start by saying why I'm actually presenting this, and also what we're going to talk about. So what we're going to talk about, just going to give you an overview of our services. And some of those services you'll be well aware of. I know that 100% of the people listening will be aware of our cash retail network, and we've got most of our housing associations and local authorities do use us for that. The why comes from the fact that we recently did a survey with HQN members, and we had a response rate, a pretty healthy response rate, but it said that only 30% of HQN members were aware that we did anything other than cash payments. And actually, we've had a digital payment proposition live for about 5 years now. So I thought it was important for us just to do a bit of a brand awareness brief. I'm not going to do any sort of death by PowerPoint. It's quite brief, and take it from there just to give you an overview of what we're doing. But I suppose more importantly, what we're doing and where we feel that we add value. So we went out to a number of housing associations in the last 18 months, myself being the majority of those visits. And I think I probably met with about 50 housing associations, maybe more, and local authorities, just to gain your feedback really on what it is that you want a payments product to look like and how you want it different, or even if there was just particular headaches or problems that you had, where we felt that we could fix them and represent those fixes in our product. So I will start now. So a very brief overview of our cash retail network, because I know you all know about this. So we've got the largest retail network in the UK. It's made up of 28,500 stores. 18,000 of those are independent retailers, and 11,500 of them are so major multiple retailer groups and supermarkets, so Tesco, Sainsbury's, the Co-op Group, Spar, Martin McCall's, etc. So basically there is a PayPoint on pretty much every street corner, or if not, you can go to your larger supermarkets as well for your customers to make payments. We have the longest opening hours as well, so typically 6 a.m. till 11 p.m. at night, but we've also got some 24-hour forecourts in our portfolio as well, so there's literally always somewhere that someone can pay in cash if that's their preferred method. But what I want to talk about, really, the exciting stuff, is the digital payments offering that we have. And like I said at the beginning, I don't really want to talk about the individual channels necessarily, but more where they add value to you. So just going down the list, app, for example, most of the housing associations we speak to either have a white label app that's provided by a third party, or they have their own app. So we can do a white label app. That's fine. It's something we've done, often to lots of different sectors. But we've also got a suite of payment APIs as well. So if you want to take payments within your own app, we can do that for you in a PCI compliant way. We do it at the moment with our client Midland Heart, where they've got a great innovative app. It does a lot more than a white label app would do. They offer things like help with universal credit, the ability for customers to report repairs, but they also wanted the ability to take payments so people could manage their rent through the app as well. And that's where we come in. We provide that payment seamlessly in the background so that customers can make payments towards their rent account through the app as well. It's completely seamless, and the customer journey is obviously managed entirely by Midland Heart. The same can be said for web, so we can provide you with a white label web payment page that your customers can go on and make a payment if they wanted to do it through that route. or we can provide you with payment APIs again, so that you can take payment from your own website. And this is really you can start doing some really cool stuff here with the website. So we've mentioned quite a lot today about sort of online rent accounts and things like that. So our APIs allow a customer to just sign in once to their rent account, make a payment if they want to. They obviously have their full rent statement there. They don't have to go outside to a third-party web page in order to make a payment. It's all seamless, underpinned by single sign-on within that website, so they don't go anywhere else. They just make the payment there and then. But they also can do some other interesting things with our APIs. So they can set up a recurring card schedule within their online rent account. They can sign up to a direct debit, full mandates there. And obviously they can see their live balance as well. So all of our payment channels, we do real-time live transaction data, whether it's through app, web, cash, IVR, whatever the channel. All of our data comes in real time. We can stream that directly into your CRM system or your billing system. And what that means is you can provide your customers with a real, up-to-the-minute, real-time rent account balance. So what that means is, particularly with cash, you don't have to wait 24 hours for a payment file to come in. There's no manual input of that payment file either, so you don't have to download a file, reformat it, upload it somewhere else. It will be streamed directly into your CRM system, and then you can upload that directly into your website as well. We can do that integration too. All of that is underpinned by our event streamer, and that's the name. And that is basically a way of us streaming all of your transaction data to a single endpoint. The next piece on there is pay by link. So we've spoken quite a lot today around automatic texting, collecting with care, nudge theory, sort of nudging customers to pay, keeping them armed with information so that they can make payments within, when it's convenient for them, but obviously prompting so that they're aware that a payment is due. So our pay by link service does that. So you can nudge customers to make payments. They can be automated, or you can send singular text messages to particular individuals. Perhaps you're on the phone to them. Where that's different from just being a text and a nudge is there is a link within that text message that the customer can follow. It's pre-populated with their name, reference number, and the amount they owe, and they just simply have to put their card details in. The payment is then made. Detail of that payment is then streamed directly back to you in real time, and obviously the arrear is cleared, or whatever the situation is. There's also the ability now as well to follow that link and set up a recurring card schedule. So set up a repayment plan, so the customer can do that on their own volition without actually speaking to anyone at all at the housing association, and also the ability to request a call back or to call in. So if they do want to have that conversation off the back of the text, they can do that as well. The messages are tailorable, so it could be, let's say, every single direct debit that fails within a month. You could automate all the text messages out and say, direct debit's failed. If you'd like to make a payment here, you can, or you can set up a repayment plan. So there's lots of different ways that you can use it. Curo Group have gone live with this service, and they're finding that they're able to use it for lots of different ways, more than they thought. They're getting a really good response rate of over sort of 60% payments against each text sent out, and that's because they are prompting customers, constantly nudging customers, and also sort of requesting the payment over the phone. For them, it was really important that they had a PCI compliant way of taking payment over the phone, and they're actually using Pay by Link as a way of doing that. So talking through the customer on the phone, sending them a text, I'm going to send you a text now, follow the link, make the payment. They then see the payment coming through in real time, and it's closed down. So there's a lot you can do there. It's also really good for sort of new homes or administration fees as well, because you don't need to have registered the customer. They don't need a 19-digit reference number or anything like that. You can type in anything you want it to be. It could be, a tenancy number or a reference towards the address or something like that. But basically, because it's completely agnostic and neutral, you can type in whatever reference number you need. Direct debits, where do I feel that we add value on direct debits? Well, we would settle money to you quicker, which is always good. But also, I think one of the really key ways that we add value is that we can fully automate it via API. So, if you're making rent changes in your CRM system, or uplifting rents at the beginning of the year, you can just ping us an API and we will change all of the rents in one go, which I know is a massive headache for a lot of our housing association clients, whereby it's a very manual process at the beginning of each year where they change the rent prices. That would no longer be the case. If you work with us, we would automate that fully. You can also do a lot of customer facing sign-ups as well. So you can ping out mandates to customers directly, or again, you could, through the APIs, host a mandate for sign up within rent accounts. Recurring card scheduler, again, it's available via the API. So everything we're doing is very much automated and through the APIs. And we can hold the schedule, or you can hold a schedule and ping us a note to take a payment against a schedule that you hold. Cash out, so it's quite a unique product, I suppose. It's a way of issuing refunds and crisis payments out to customers via cash. So you can issue them with a text message or an email that has a barcode in it. That barcode can then be scanned by our retailers and then redeemed as cash there and then. So it's immediately available. So quite good for any of you who have sort of care responsibility, need to get emergency or crisis payments out to your customers. All of our channels have the ability to do refunds, so whether it's by card or by direct debit, but this is just another option really of doing it by cash if you wanted to. We then have IVR and virtual terminal as well, so we've got the telephony piece there, fully PCI compliant as well. So you can send customers to one route if they wanted to make an automated payment, or you can have the conversation with them, talk them through the payment through the virtual terminal, set up some repayment plans, recurring card payments, or direct debits, what have you. And then SMS is always an interesting channel because it's not the most popular, but we do find through our transaction data that the customers that use SMS are the ones that religiously use it every single time they make a payment. So it's obviously the technology that they're comfortable with. We talk about having a broad range of payment channels. It is one of those ones that we feel is just there for a hygiene reason, really, just to make sure that person does pay for it by SMS every month is catered for. I've been talking quite a lot around the individual channels, but what we sell really is just one product. And I think this slide really does that justice, is that we've got, all these different payment channels coming in. They can be streamed directly into our payment channel, our client portal. And you can log on there and see all of your transaction data. You can set recurring card payments. You can do everything through there. You can do pay by link through there. Or we can stream it directly into your CRM system. So we can have that direct feed directly into your CRM system. So there is no sort of in between, there's no clunkiness, there's no transaction files or anything like that. So fully automated. But then the system also pushes things out as well. So, prompts via pay by link, requests for payment via pay by link, and also refunds out and crisis payments out via cash out. I just wanted to focus a little bit of extra time on pay by link. We've had quite a few, purely because in the last few days, we've been inundated with requests about pay by link because people are having issues with payments over the phone for contact centers or what have you. So this is something that we can absolutely get live within a few days. It's a really quick turnaround for us. Our implementation time is really quick. So if it is something you'd like us to help you out with and you are having trouble taking payment at the moment, we can do that. But I think that sort of touches on a wider point, actually, which I think sometimes the clients that we've been speaking to think that, this is a massive project, this is going to change how we do things, and it's huge and we need lots of time to implement it. It's absolutely not the case. 90% of the build is on our side, and the feedback we've got from Curo Group, who we've implemented all of our digital solutions with recently, said that it was the quickest project they've ever done. The project manager was able to step away from the project within 2 months, which is the quickest he's ever been able to do it, and push it back into BAU really quickly. And he was actually astonished by the fact that he was able to do that. So I'd like to reassure you that this isn't actually as big as a project as you may think it would be, but there are lots of ways that we can add value, so it's worth it. So just a quick summary of the benefits. So we think we can, we think you probably save you a bit of money, and we can settle the money to you quicker as well, so your cash flow is better. We can provide you real-time transaction data, which is going to do a lot of different things, but it's going to reduce manual tasks, back office tasks. So no sort of reformatting of files and uploading files and those kind of things. It will change the way that you do rent increases every year. So really automating those kind of things, really improving the customer experience as well, because they only need to log on to an app or a website once. There's no third-party pages that they're sent out to make payments. Everything is seamless. And with Pay by Link, we feel like we offer more effective ways to chase arrears too. So in terms of what we offer all these different things, but I think what underpins all of this is our true partnership approach. And this is just a typical structure of what we would offer in terms of partnership with you. We would have, you'd have account manager, you'd have monthly meetings with that account manager, but you'd also have access to some of the more senior staff at PayPoint as well. And they would want to come and meet with you sort of 6 monthly, annually as well, and just to reset our roadmap and ask you what are the kind of things that you want to see on our roadmap. Where do you see the relationship going? What's changing in the future, and what do you need to see to make sure that our product stays relevant to what you need? And as the world changes and various things like COVID happen, is there any way that we do need to be responding in terms of our product, in terms of our relationship? So you'll have access to lots of different levels at PayPoint. And we make sure we would do that with all our clients as well. It's quite standard for us.
So I'm going to move it on to our last presentation, and last but not least, it's Scott from allpay.
Brilliant. So for those of you that don't know me, my name's Scott Bennett. I'm one of the business development managers at allpay. There are a lot of English people in the conference today, so my accent gives me away I am Scottish. So some of you may not have met me yet. Ultimately, what we're here today is to talk about a solution that we've implemented recently that makes payments easier, but also just to touch on a bit in terms of what's been happening around the sort of COVID world. Obviously, over the last 6 or 7 months, it has been a difficult time. And just to give a bit of insight in terms of what we've noticed in terms of payment collection in the sector. Apologies for the acronyms that are on here. OTC's over the counter. So what we have noticed is that there has been a channel shift over the last 6 or 7 months. Specifically, people aren't leaving their houses as often. We're finding that payments made via post office and PayPoint have been decreasing on our network. We think on average across all of our clients, it's gone down around 30%. But we have seen it shifting over to sort of multi channels and e-commerce channels. So your telephony payments and your online payments. In terms of customer behaviors, the customers are actually making payments less often, but they've actually increased the amount they're paying. So I think we've noticed an increase in terms of 15% in terms of the average payment that a customer makes. So generally in terms of sort of client feedback, it's good news for you guys. The less transactions they do, but the more they pay means a higher profit level at the end of the day, which is ideal. The payment channel that I want to talk about today is our payment gateway. Now, some of you on the call may already use us for our branded gateway service, and I think Vicky was right when she was highlighting benefits to her service. Things like it's not ideal to transfer over to a third-party website, and this is why we've generated Payment Gateway. It's a solution to that, if you like. So a lot of the people who we've been speaking with, a lot of the housing groups, they're in the process of developing their own apps or making their own customer portals and trying to shift all of their customers over to digital type payments. And this is what Payment Gateway provides to our customer base. So it would be integrated within a portal. And the good news about that is that it retains customer information. So when a customer clicks to pay, they don't have to enter the age-old problem of allpay, which was that 19-digit PRN. It will be more dependent on the customer's payment, the customer payment number or the tenant reference number, which is your own number. So as long as the customer is known to you, they can process a payment on your website. So if they're processing the payment on the portal, the good news is that it will bring through their tenant's referencing number. They've already signed in once with you guys. They don't have to do it again. We do this via an iframe that's embedded on your website. So in terms of the general look of the website, you're in charge of that. So no longer do you have to tell allpay, I want it to look like X, Y, and Z. you'll have your own design team who'll be able to make it look exactly how you want it to look on your site. So we've got the integrated option, which works via the portal. We also have a guest checkout option, which was something that our customers were asking us for, where maybe they hadn't had a chance to set up a customer on their system, but they needed to collect a payment like a deposit payment. So guest checkout allows you to do that. And the only difference, rather than the integrated version, it pulls through all of your customers' account details. This one is blank, so the customer would need to enter their own customer number. Both these services are mobile optimized, so we know everyone has phones nowadays. We're all making payments on our phone. I can't remember, other than work, the last time I was sat on a desktop to process any type of payment. So all of the services are optimized to work on a mobile platform. And finally, just to mention on here that all of our debit and credit card services now, there is a real-time payment notification service available. So you can be updated immediately from the moment that a payment's made. And that ties in really well with this service. So just to give you a couple of screenshots on what this looks like. So when we're drafting it together, we imagine that a customer's already logged on to the portal at this point, in which case you would have a pay a bill button. When the customer was to click through on that, it would then bring you through to the payment screen. Now, I like to explain this in terms of if you were to ever make a payment on, say, Next or Amazon, you always get that little square box, white square box where you enter your card details. This is what we'd essentially do. And if I utilize the mouse, you can picture it. This is the square box that your payment details for the customer would appear in. It's probably not particularly clear, but there's Latin writing along the top and on the right hand side. All of that Latin writing, that's your website. So you can have in that whatever you like. And we'd be happy to work with you in terms of how you can make that really work well. For instance, you could integrate that with our real-time notification service. So you could have an active live balance. And once a payment's made, it can be updated to show a pending payment. So the customer knows that payment has been made. It's easier to look at the box on the right-hand side for the mobile optimized version we've mocked up. When a customer clicks to pay the bill, like I've mentioned, it pulls through that reference number straight away. You can also pre-populate it, so it can come through with the customer's rent amount or whatever reason they're looking to make a payment for. And also, if any clients who are sitting here on the call, you'll know that you'll have different schemes set up for different reasons to make payments. So you're able to customize all of that as well. At the bottom, nice and simple, it stores the customer's card details. So once that information's there, it is retained. So all they need to do next time they come to the site is to enter their security code number, the last 3 digits. And what we're really looking to get across here is if you make payments simple for customers, they'll continue to do it again and again. We're really just trying to remove as many blockers that we may have had in previous iterations of the sort of service that we have. Just to do a quick comparison in terms of the guest checkout option and the integrated checkout option. In terms of a reduced user journey for the customer, if you have an integrated version that's built into a portal you've created or a mobile app, it pulls through all the customer information. So again, the customer's not having to input that information. The 19-digit PRN of allpay is a thing of the past. They don't have to remember that anymore. So it makes it much easier for them to process that payment. And again, bank card storage is there. So it's all about making things simple. As you would expect from any type of payment platform nowadays, we are fully compliant, and it would be to an SAQA standard, which is exactly what you're after. The point on integration effort needed, obviously, if it's an integrated checkout, we need to do some integration work with your portal. So that will require a bit more work to your side in terms of IT involvement and IT development. With the guest payment checkout, but because we're not looping into a database, the customer sort of manually entering in information, it does require a lot less IT input from a client side. And obviously with our guest checkout, if the customer is unknown to you guys, they can make the payment for the integrated checkout. It does need to be a customer that's already set up on your system with the relevant registration number. And just to quickly recap, the good news for you guys is we're obviously in the graveyard shift here, so I'll try and make it as quick as I can so you can all get a coffee, because I noticed you missed your break at the last speech that was done by Rachel. So in terms of a recap, it's an embedded frame, iframe, sorry. So it helps create a seamless journey for your customers. Gone is the concept of this 19-digit number. So payments can be made via the client or tenancy reference number, which, as I mentioned, for the integrated version, it's automatically put onto the site, so your customer doesn't have to do it. The ability to store card details, again, that's just one less thing that your customer has to worry about. It's all about making this journey as easy as possible for them. And again, it's compatible with mobile applications. You can get real-time notifications for each payment that's made. So you get an active update on all balances. And then, yeah, the guest checkout capability. So I'll run through that really quickly. If you are interested in finding out some more information on it, what I would ask is that you get in touch with your relevant BDM or account manager, or if you're not sure who that is, or if you're new and you'd like to find out a bit more about allpay, you can email sales@allpay.net, and then we'll make sure that the correct person gets in touch with you. And just on my final slide, I don't know if anyone in the conversation's heard of this yet. We've been doing a bit of marketing in terms of a payment platform called Agilis. This is going to be our brand new payment platform. We've obviously done what we've done for the last 25 years, and that's been good and it's been great for a lot of clients. But we're really looking to move forward to the 21st century in terms of our payment options, and we're looking into the future. I can't give away too much information yet in terms of what Agilis has to offer. There's a web address at the bottom, which has a 30-second teaser video for you to have a look and to register your interest. And as and when there are developments to the product, you will be kept in the loop. But in terms of a slight sneak peek, if you think along the things like open banking as a little teaser, those are certainly the sort of ideas that we're looking to in terms of enhancing the service that we offer to our clients.